What damages can you charge to a security deposit? And how much can you charge? I'm going to answer that and more in today's video. I'm Jennifer Ruelens, landlord, educator, advocate, and broker of One Focus Property Management. I'm so glad to get to address this question about security deposits and charges because it's one of the most common questions that I get from rental property owners who are trying to navigate this on their own. So, what can you charge to a tenant's deposit? Well, simply, you can charge anything that they owe you. So if they still owe you any rent amounts, late fees or penalties due under the lease, any unpaid utilities that they're accountable for, or damages in excess of normal wear and tear. So that's a real general description, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of what all this means. When your tenant moves out of the property, you are entitled to charge them for any damages that are present as a result of negligence or damage beyond normal wear and tear. So normal wear and tear is the type of damage that occurs in a property simply from living. So carpets wear out, paint needs to be redone eventually, appliances don't last forever, even things like countertops and such have a useful life and they're going to be exceeded at some point and they can need repair or replacement without it necessarily being damage or negligence on the part of the tenant. All normal wear and tear charges need to be paid for by the landlord. They are not the tenant's responsibility. When your tenant moves out, you're going to need to do a move-out inspection. Now, this begs the question, did you do a move-in inspection? I'll tell you statistically, you're not. Most rental property owners that I meet do not have any sort of documentation related to the move-in condition of the property. You can use a move-in, move-out condition form. These are very easily attainable or made, and just quite simply, it's a written documentation of any deficiencies in the property when it was turned over to the tenants to move in. I prefer video. Photos and video will also work. This needs to be done prior to the tenant getting their keys, documented and kept. So if you're going to use digital photo or video to document it, make sure you're getting it in the cloud. Don't lose that password and make sure you keep a hold of it. So we're going to do a move-out inspection, and because we're following our advice here today, we're going to do this either in writing or with video and photo. If you have a move-in condition report, you're going to compare it to that. And so what we're looking for are damages present in the property that were not there when the tenant moved in and were not caused by normal wear and tear. So we're looking for things like damage, meaning broken things, things that have been purposefully demolished or through carelessness been trashed. Also, we're looking for negligence, where negligence has caused damage. So if they were negligent in performing some maybe preventive maintenance tasks, filter changes or cleaning or some sort of maintenance that way, and now there's a larger problem because of it, that could also be abnormal wear and tear and chargeable to the tenant. Once you've inspected, go ahead and perform the work that needs to be done in the property, because what you need are finalized costs. You need to know the actual costs that you paid to have these repairs made, and those are the costs that are then chargeable to the tenant. Just before you charge all those costs to the tenant, make sure that if any of the items that you had to repair or replace are depreciable, then those need to be depreciated for the useful life that was remaining on that fixture when the tenant moved out. So here's a great example. Carpet. Carpet, generally speaking, has about a 5-year useful life. And so what that means is you're entitled to charge the tenant for the remaining useful life of that fixture or asset if they've damaged it beyond being able to keep it. So carpet being our example, if there's a 5-year useful life on that, and it was brand new when the tenant moved in and the tenant lived there 1 year, maybe they stained it or burned it in some other way, destroyed it, and it had to be replaced, they would be responsible for compensating the landlord for 4 of those 5 useful life years. So the tenant lived in it for 1, consuming 1 of those useful life years. They owe the landlord 4 out of the 5 years that they didn't get to use it, or 80% of the replacement cost. This is tricky, and you need to figure out what the useful life is for many of these different fixtures in the property. However, you should also keep an eye on when you replace those things so that you can make those judgments appropriately. Back to how much we can charge. You can only charge the tenant the actual amount you paid to have the work done, and you had to have it done. So if you choose not to make the repair or replacement in the property, you're not able to charge the tenant for it. So if the tenant did some sort of damage and you said, well, I'm actually just gonna leave that fixture just like it is, well, then you're not going to be able to charge them for it. You actually have to have the expense. Now that begs a couple of questions. Maybe you have a really good deal. You have a friend or a family member who's willing to do work on your property at a discount. Well, that discount gets passed along to the tenant. So if you paid less than market value to have the repair done, so will the tenant. Now, what if you do the work? So maybe you don't have a receipt for that necessarily, but you do have records. So when you do the work yourself, instead of a receipt, you're going to keep time logs. You're going to say you worked on the property from this date, from this time to this time, doing this sort of task. Now, what you'll charge the tenant is an appropriate market rate for those services. So you're going to look in your market and see, what do general handymen make? Okay, if you did general handyman type tasks, you would charge that labor rate. Maybe cleaning has a different labor rate. Whatever it is, you would charge that appropriate labor rate for your time and use your time logs as the source document as opposed to a receipt. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I loved making it for you. If you ever have questions or want to know more, leave us a comment. Come to my website, onefocuspm.com. Send us an email. I'm always eager to hear from you and to make sure I'm making videos and content that serve you and improve your business. Until next time, see you later.